When I was brought on to be the Southern organizer, it was really because we had no rail trails in the South, and it'd be a national movement, which was important to achieve a strong movement nationwide. We had to have rail trails in every part of the country. And so I was dispatched to the South with very little to guide me other than my accent, which was supposed to be my calling card. And our goal in those early days was simply to make as many rail trails as possible. It was sort of reaching a critical mass because the railroads were abandoning them left and right, thousands of miles every year. And we had to turn as many of those as we could into rail trails. So we had our failures, we had our successes. We thought we had a good project going in Barnwell, South Carolina, but after our organizing meeting there that night, they burned the trestle, burned it down to the ground. That was the end of that project. But other places were more successful. In Georgia, we had an interesting abandonment, went from Rockmart to Etna. And Rockmart we were able to find. It was a little town in Georgia leading toward Atlanta, but Etna, no one could find Etna. No one had ever even heard of Etna. And the local person and I got out on the corridor, pouring down rain, slogging through that muddy red Georgia dirt, and we finally found Etna. And it was a word stenciled on a gray railroad utility box. But Rockmart to Etna became the Silver Comet Trail, one of the icon trails in America. And now it actually links up to an Alabama trail, which had its own interesting beginning, because the very first call I ever made at RTC was to the mayor of a small town which was going to have an abandonment from Cedartown to Max Wellborn, and he told me that he didn't need any help from RTC. He didn't need any trail because that railroad was never going to be abandoned because his wife's second cousin was married to the vice chair of the Democratic Party of Alabama, and that line would not be abandoned. But of course it was, and 2 years later, when I was doing a public meeting with people in that community, trying to get their support for the corridor, and it was sort of iffy whether they would or not. Halfway into my presentation, the door in the back of the room opened, and in marched this man in a double-breasted white suit, and I thought maybe he was the cops had come to arrest me or something. He sat down in the front row, and by golly, it was that same mayor, and all of a sudden he yelled out, "That's the little lady that called me! That little lady called me on the telephone, and she told me I needed a trail, and she was right, and we're going to have that trail." And we did. And it's Chief Ladiga Trail. And the most exciting thing is that now the Chief Ladiga Trail and the Silver Comet Trail meet at the Georgia-Alabama border. And if you can build a trail from Anniston, Alabama to the Georgia border, you can build a trail anywhere in the South.